स्मार्ट हो रहा है इंडिया जैसे इंडिया में बना एलिस्टा स्मार्ट एलईडी टीवी विद वर्ल्ड क्लास क्लैरिटी एंड अमेजिंग फीचर्स.
You have been named back into New Zealand's central contract list after almost a year. So how was the feel when you learned the news?
I was obviously delighted to be back on the contract list for New Zealand. It was certainly an interesting and tough year, but very nice to be back on that list again.
Let's talk about it a bit more. Not receiving a central contract, even though being a key player for New Zealand for so long, did it impact you mentally in any way?
I think it certainly did. I think I'd be lying if I said that it was an easy time. It was extremely challenging, both mentally and emotionally. And specifically, I guess, after being told that news and then less than a month later, I was back in the team. It was a real roller coaster to have to deal with. But thankfully, I've got some great people around me and some really great friends within this team as well. So going away and knowing how backed I was by the staff and the team certainly helped ease that a little bit.
Talking about that phase when you were without contract, so how were you preparing yourself mentally and especially with regard to your cricket, comebacks or something like that?
I actually ended up playing a heap of cricket throughout that time, I suppose. So, I worked with a psychologist that we've got back in Canterbury for my domestic team back home there and did a bit of work with her. But I ended up playing, I think, 3 different franchise leagues and I would say 90% of the tours that New Zealand had last year as it was. So it's sort of, whilst it was certainly difficult, it was, I guess, being able to deal with that and put it aside to a certain aspect and knowing that I still had to go out there and perform each game with the backing of the team.
And talking a bit more about these central contracts, your wife and fellow teammate once upon a time, now your wife, Amy Satterwaite, announced her retirement from international cricket due to not receiving a central contract. So, how do you feel such moves impact a team and especially the respective player with regard to their careers?
It was extremely challenging. Obviously, being my wife, I was, living through that day to day with her and making that decision to retire was not an easy one. She's slightly older than I was, so I guess from her perspective that retirement was coming, I guess, slightly sooner, but she certainly wasn't ready to finish, and it was forced upon her. The way that she handled that and has transitioned into some coaching has been fantastic, and the way that she's really been able to hold herself and move forward has been amazing to watch.
So now with Amy retired, she wouldn't be apart with you on tours. And back home, let's talk about that beautiful baby that you two have. You must be missing, you will be now missing Amy and Grace a lot. So how do you look at balancing both your professional and personal life from here?
Yeah, it's certainly a different situation for me now being on tour and not having my family there. There's a lot more downtime, certainly finding myself probably pestering teammates a lot more and making sure that I'm not spending too much time in my room by myself. So I was so used to getting home from training or a game and heading to the playground with Grace. It's certainly challenging, finding a lot of time for Zooms. But I have to give, a lot of credit to Amy for, I guess, supporting me the way that she has and still being able to come away while she's holding the fort down at home. And Grace has got a sticker chart that she's counting down how many sleeps to go until I'm home. If one thing, it certainly shows just how much she loves me because I get a lot of kisses through the FaceTime.
And let's talk about that ODI series against Sri Lanka. Chamari Athapaththu, she was one player to, watch out for at that series. So how do you look at her performance in that entire series?
Yeah, she was obviously in fantastic form. I think to score 200s in a 3-match series is quite phenomenal. We were actually having a bit of a laugh the other day. Yesterday it was, I think, that we've got her out either first ball or she scored 100. So we've certainly gone away and looked at some plans on how we can bowl to her and moving forward into the T20s. We've had to go away and really look at that, and I think we'll look to implement them throughout the T20s a little bit more as well.
And talking about, unfortunate that New Zealand had to lose that ODI series to Sri Lanka. So what was the talk and how was the mood in the dressing room? How was the talk after that loss immediately?
Yeah, I think we actually left the review until the next day. I think sometimes it's good to take the emotion out of it. Obviously it's never nice losing a series, and we had really high hopes coming over here, but we certainly knew that it was going to be a challenging bilateral series. Only two of our players have ever played in these conditions before. I've got a really young group that we're developing and bringing through, so we knew it was going to be challenging. But like I say, we went away and reviewed it the next day, took a lot of the emotion out of it, and then looked forward to the T20s now.
Speaking a bit more about this ODI series, how do you see this loss, impacting this ongoing championship cycle, this ODI cycle that you women are playing right now?
Yeah, I think we've left ourselves in a pretty tough position, if we're honest. We obviously had a couple of rained out games at home against Bangladesh as well, and we would have liked to have picked up a few more wins, especially with some of the teams, I guess, that we've got coming up. But it's pretty simple. We know what's in front of us. We know what we have to do throughout those series to make sure that we can qualify for that World Cup.
And talking about the World Cup, well, 2022 was quite a roller coaster journey for you White Ferns, because that disappointment in the home World Cup to ultimately winning that bronze medal in the Commonwealth Games. So how was that transition journey?
Yeah, I think, like you say, it was a roller coaster. I think it was there for everyone to see that we were obviously very disappointed, and we played some very disappointing cricket throughout that home World Cup, and we certainly won't shy away from that fact. But to be able to, I think, galvanise as a group and bounce back and get that bronze medal, it meant a lot to this team. The way that we were able to bounce back under some new staff as well.
How was your experience playing in Sri Lanka?
Yeah, it's been fantastic. It's certainly a beautiful country. I think the pitches there in Galle were probably not what we expected, and it had a little bit more in it for the paces, which was really nice. And then, we've moved here to Colombo, and it's just been brilliant. The people are extremely friendly, and we've enjoyed getting out and going to some new cafes and trying some new foods and really embracing the culture as much as we can.
Lea, all these years you've been like one of the key pacers for the White Ferns. So how would you sum up your experience and your journey all through these years?
Look, I'd say up and down, to be honest. I've had a few injuries that have kept me out at different times. I've had to fight my way back from those, and I guess sort of show some real resilience to be able to do that. But I'm incredibly proud of what I've been able to achieve for the White Ferns, and every time you pull on that black jersey, it's incredibly special. So I would say just incredibly proud of my career so far, and hopefully I've got a few more in me as well.
Lea, from your point of view, how do you see this women's game evolving from this position? Yes, it has gradually evolved a lot. People are getting to know about the women's game a lot, but still it needs a lot of evolution. So from your point of view, what do you have to say about the evolution, and how do you look at, or what do you have to say about the inclusivity from the point of view as a queer person from your end?
Yeah, I just think it's really exciting. I think the way that the women's game is going, and it continues to grow, and I think franchise cricket has a major part to play in that. But I also think that all of the international boards, the way that they've promoted the women's game and supported it, and a lot more teams are now professional and able to give everything to this is what's really growing the standard. And we can see, obviously Sri Lanka beating us in this one-day series shows the growth that's happening. On any day, any team can beat anyone, and that's a really exciting place to be, I think, personally. And in terms of the inclusivity, I think it's always been a real strength of the women's game, to be honest. It doesn't matter where you come from or who you are, there's always a place for you within cricket.
स्मार्ट हो रहा है इंडिया, जैसे इंडिया में बना एलिस्टा स्मार्ट एलईडी टीवी with world class clarity and amazing features.